Happy Thursday, everybody. Andy and Steve from WagerTalk, SportsMemo.com. It is Team Total Thursday. We've got the Ravens. We've got the Texans. We've got the Bills. We've got the Chiefs. We got all your NFL teams. We're going to go over our two favorite overs and our two favorite unders for this week. We'll go over some NHL and NBA props. We got your sneaky play of the day and a stat of the day. Welcome to the Road to Millions. Positive vibes from the audience. Great day from comments yesterday. You guys were awesome in the comment section. So give us a like and leave a comment here. Andy brought up the Tom Brady throughout his whole career never took one snap where he was mathematically out of the playoffs. This is referring to the unbreakable sports record. Steve, we talked about this one. This one's tough to go over, though.
Yeah, we talked about that one, and it's just one that it's hard to compare it to anything else, or it's hard to compare it to anything in past history. It's just it is a great, it is an unbreakable record, though. I think it would make it in, but I just don't know how many talking points there are surrounding it.
Yeah, maybe we should look up how many snaps. That's how you do it. How many snaps was it? We could look up how many snaps instead of how many years. Which is so that because we were struggling with, well, what if a guy does it for like 6 games, like or a real
Yeah.
short sample size. So maybe we just change it to the actual amount of sets. Scott brings up great throwback to a comment I said on Puck Time. Andy, transparent with your picks, just not on Puck Time. So what I said on Puck Time was I'm only transparent with my picks when I'm on a winning streak. That's and that's a joke, by the way. Me and
Yeah.
Carmine were having fun about that. So, Nolan Ryan, Ritzy Lama, send me an email. I responded to you. We want to get you on and have you pitch this one for us. Hey-o. Let's have a pitch there on a baseball show. So, Ray Karkman brings up shot put. My dad set a hammer throw record overseas. It didn't go over any oceans. It was just in a large field in Finland. That's funny. I appreciated I appreciated that one. So, Enrique wants to know where's the NFL picks and props. Well, as you see, NBA and NHL props. But today we're going to go over NFL team totals. So we got your picks and your props coming today. So hit the like button, guys, and give us a comment. Tell us what your best bet is. Let's get into the team totals here. We always give our favorite over and under. I like the Buccaneers over. I like the Texans under. And Steve likes the Bills over and the Lions under. So, Steve, I will let you go first. You talk about the Bills over 23.5. What do you like about Buffalo?
So they've scored 24 plus in four of their last five. The one they fell short, they only scored 21 in a divisional game against Miami. Last week they put up 31 against a solid Steelers defense. And Josh Allen looked great throwing the ball and on the ground as well. He had that long touchdown run. And he looked great on the ground and through the air. I think this game really just sets up as a shootout with Kansas City. If you look at when they played each other a couple seasons ago, I think these teams are kind of notorious for shooting it out in the postseason. 2 seasons ago, 42-36. Chiefs prevail in that one. And I think the Bills are going to give them. I think I like the Bills in this one, so I like the team total over 23.5 as well.
All right, Bills over 23.5. Weather should be fine for that game. I'm going Buccaneers. You know what I love about this one is I didn't even need to change the graphic. Same exact. They sailed over it last week. They got 32 points against Philadelphia, and I loved. It was kind of a buy low spot. Like they only scored 9 points against Carolina. It was the last game of the regular season. They were going to beat Carolina. I didn't worry too much about that. In New Orleans, they weren't very good. Last week, though, I brought it up. It's playoff time, man. Baker's playing hurt. You throw caution to the wind, and that was without Mike Evans playing well. Mike Evans was terrible. Some pretty bad drops, and they're giving the same number at 20.5. Steve, I think this game sets up to be a shootout. Buccaneers showed they can put up points against a bad defense, and this Lions passing defense is awful. They did a good job last week against the Rams where they only allowed field goals and not too many touchdowns. Even then, they still let the Rams get to 23 points. So they've allowed over 300 yards easily to the last three quarterbacks they played. So I think Baker moves the ball up and down the field. And I'm not sure the Lions are going to be able to keep this team out of the end zone quite like they did the Rams. That was a very, very serious bend but not break operation that we saw. And this is a team that, they gave up 20 points to Minnesota. They gave up 20 points to Dallas. But before that, they gave up 24 points to Minnesota again. You can move the ball on this team. So I like the under 20 and a half. If this was 21 and a half, probably wouldn't take it. But I like the 20 and a half for Tampa Bay at the Lions. And it is indoors. If you saw the report of the poor,
Yeah.
poor thing. So I gotta tell you, I saw somebody on Twitter bring up a really good point. Like that's kind of what happens when you gut local news budgets and you don't have like sports reporters that can go out in the field. They just send like your average news reporter, and then they like didn't give her any help, didn't help her with a
Yeah.
question. They just let her go off on her own. I felt bad. I felt bad for her. I mean, she was getting roasted, but I don't know. I thought that was a bad situation. But yes, Tampa is playing at Detroit, and it is indoors. Speaking of that, Steve, you're going Lions under 28 and a half. Big, big number here for Detroit.
Yeah, that's why I like it because even in a shootout, somewhat of a shootout, they could fall short of this number. It just seems altogether too high to me. They only scored 24 last week against the Rams, and the Bucks held them to only 20. It was way back in October, but they still held them to 20 points. I think the Bucks have such a strong run defense. I feel like they make the Lions one dimensional in this one, and the Bucks just held Philadelphia to 9. I know Philly has been essentially flopped, you know what I mean, and kind of has been playing. They were in horrible form coming into the game and in the game, but still to hold them to only 9 points, I think that the Bucks defense can do their job here and keep them under 28 and a half.
All right, so Steve likes the Lions under 28 and a half. Texans under 17 and a half. Here's the stats that I have for this one, and then I'll just get to kind of why this is kind of a little bit more of a gut feeling. All right, so they get 23 at Indianapolis. That's indoors, and they were very close to not getting 23 points. Before that, at Tennessee, in overtime, they only scored 19 points. Before that, at the Jets, they scored 6 points. Uh, at Cincinnati, they put up 30 points, but that was a Cincinnati team decimated with injuries. 13 points at Carolina, 19 points at Atlanta. Like, they have struggled on the road this season. I'm not going to. They played at Baltimore earlier this year. They lost 25-9. I'm not even putting that game into my comparisons. I mean, talk about the most brutal game to start your NFL career for C.J. Stroud at Baltimore. So it was
Yeah, especially with the way Baltimore plays early season too.
the entire team's healthy. They've had an entire offseason to get ready for the first game. So here's what I like about this. So this is like the first time in a while that Baltimore and Lamar Jackson is going into the playoffs healthy. I read Mark Andrews was a full participant. So add him to this offense, and I think the offense is going to be able to move the ball, and I think they're going to be able to run the ball. And this is not in a dome, Steve. It is going to be in the 20s. It is at Baltimore. Baltimore is rested, and I think this is the best Baltimore team to have a chance to win the playoffs or to win the Super Bowl since Lamar Jackson has been there. They have all the weapons. They have all the pieces. Last week, they got aided by, I mean, let's face it, the Browns fell flat on their face and Joe Flacco threw back-to-back pick sixes. So they scored 45 points. To me, this is the letdown spot. I don't see C.J. Stroud and the Texans going in there and controlling the time of possession. I think it's a big Baltimore win, and I think the Texans are going to end up down, and they're going to have to go for it on a lot of fourth downs. And I think this is where C.J. Stroud and the Texans season comes to an end pretty abruptly. So amazing season, but last week was a gift given to him by the Browns. I don't see it this week. So, all right, team totals. I like the Buccaneers over 20.5 and the Texans under 17.5. Steve is going with the Bills over 23.5 and the Lions under 28.5. So if you're into team totals, lock those bad boys in there. What do we have up today over at WagerTalk and Sports Memo? Daily packs are half price today. So The plays are today, so this works out great. I have NHL Fire on Ice. That pack is up. There's not one but two plays in there for tonight. Don't really normally have two plays, but the slate sets up really nice. 15-5 run on those, so I would love to get that to 17-5. So only $12.50 to lock in two NHL plays. That is over at WagerTalk.com. Steve, what do you have up at SportsMemo.com?
I have a 5% NFL play locked and loaded for this weekend. On Sunday, it'll be the Sunday night game. And 37-26 run last two seasons on NFL best bets. So nice run on those. And I also be in action in the NBA tonight. Looking to bounce back after a tough loss last night. But I have an NBA pack up as well. So those two plays are both up at sportsmemo.com for half price.
Hey, Giannis, you ready for tonight's game? Not really. I think I'm going to get ruled out pretty close to game time. That was just.
And I got the right end of it, though. I had Middleton over PRA. It goes up 7 PRAs after Giannis gets announced out, and I had the number before the announcement. I was feeling so good coming into the game. Unfortunately, Middleton wasn't feeling very good. He's ice cold, just bricking it left and right. It ends up being a complete blowout, and then the National Blowout Association bites me once again. But looking to bounce back tonight. I have a nice one set up for tonight on a streak that's been running hot. So,
are the Bucks really that bad without Giannis? Like, is their supporting cast truly that bad, or was that just a one-off game? Because I got to be honest, I watched some of that game, and I was like, this looks like a G League team without Giannis on there. It was embarrassing, man.
Yeah, they play horrible defense to begin with, and when he's not out there, they weren't stopping anything. I mean, Mitchell was just feasting early on. And the second Middleton was 0 for 4, and the way he was shooting, he was kind of just throwing it up there, it seemed like. It wasn't really like it seemed like he was just throwing it up and just hoping it went in, crossing his fingers, you know what I mean? And I knew at that point I was in trouble.
Yeah. I don't know. That's something to monitor, is just like, I don't know. Some of these teams do okay without their stars. Like, that's giving some guys a chance to shine, and then all of a sudden, not Milwaukee. So, Toronto, after the Pascal Siakam trade, where they go out and they blow out Miami.
Yeah, unbelievable, huh?
With their in the NBA, almost anything's believable at this point. I would believe anything that you told me on the. I thought the Mavericks were gonna, really, really compete with the Lakers. The Lakers just blow them off the court last night in Luka's return. So, I don't know, man. NBA has gotten the better of me. I haven't had a play in 2024, and I think it's probably gonna stay that way. So, all right, let's do our sneaky play of the day and the stat of the day. Sneaky play is gonna be Charlie Coyle over 1.5 shots on goal. I've talked about this one a couple times. It's minus 175. Is that very juicy? Of course it is. Has it been hitting every night? Almost. 8 straight games, 13 out of 16. And the reason I bring this up is, so he's had a couple games with 5 shots on goal. He's had a couple with 3 shots on goal. The books have to be moving it to 2.5 if he goes over tonight. So, I mean, they've had it at 1.5 for this entire streak. They've moved it to minus 175. If he goes over again, the next step is 2.5 shots on goal. I've seen this many, many times. So I bring this one up just because he's playing a team, the Avalanche. They don't allow a whole lot of shots on goal, but they still allow almost 30. So, even if they rank high with shots on goal, there's still plenty to be had, especially if he only needs 2 of them. So I think you can use this as a parlay piece, or if you are comfortable laying juice, maybe just bet 1.75 units, win 1 unit, something like that. But sneaky play, Charlie Coyle's been crushing his shots on goal. So that is the sneaky play of the day for the NHL. And Steve, it's amazing you brought this stat up, because I noticed it. I just didn't put numbers to it. Talk us through this one.
So 11 of the 12 49ers victories this season have come by double digits, and they're favored by 9.5 at home against the Packers this weekend. And this trend would actually be a perfect 12 for 12 if not for a meaningless field goal by the Rams in garbage time of week 2. In week 2, the Rams hit a meaningless field goal that blew the double-digit victory for the 49ers and stopped this from being a perfect 12 for 12 on the year. And when they win they win handedly, and they're favored by they're 9.5 this weekend against the Packers, who look great, but they might be stepping into a buzzsaw in this one.
That's interesting. I take away. The reason I was looking at that is I was noticing that a lot of their games are are multiple scores. Like I threw out the last game of the season, but the huge win against Washington, but then they lost by 14 points to Baltimore, and then their last loss was to Cincinnati. That was by 14 points. So it's almost like, yeah, don't even worry about laying the small number. If you get a game with the 49ers, if it was like a -4 line, you were better off taking the alt line and something like that. So good, yeah, that's a very very interesting thing. The trend would tell you if you like them to win, just lay the 9.5, and you should be good to go. So good work on that one. All right, let's get to NHL and NBA. Steve, we will start in the NBA. It looks like what the Warriors, the Warriors, their schedule is going to be a mess. So you have to wait and see what's
Yeah.
happening. It's going to happen with that team. That terrible day yesterday for that organization. What game do you want to talk about?
I'm actually looking at the T Wolves game against the Grizz. Rudy Gobert did a video on this one this morning, and so you got to worry about the blowout in this one. Obviously, the T Wolves are favored by 12, but I'm looking at Gobert's rebounds here, sitting at 12.5. I know he's a guy that's bit us in the past before, but look at his rebounds lately: 16 plus in his last three, four of his last six, and he lands right on the hook in the two where he falls short with 12. He grabbed 20 against the Grizz in December, and we know that they don't have a lot of bigs. Obviously, Adams never played this season, and they're short on bigs. They also allow the seventh. No surprise, they allow the seventh most rebounds to opposing centers. And I'm just looking at it, and Grizz being such underdogs, they're going to have to fire up a ton of shots. I feel like he's just going to be planted in the paint, feasting on the boards.
Yeah. Um,
I know you. Hate, I know your feelings on Gobert, though. Gobert.
I can't stand betting on Rudy Gobert. If you
I
ask
know.
me, like, what's the one guy you hate betting on the most?
I know. I know.
it's, it's Rudy Gobert. Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, yeah, I wish you luck. I
Yeah,
wish you luck on
it's like
betting
I
him.
said. I like it. It's just the only thing that's I'm just after last night, especially the blowouts, are scaring me. And this one really just sets up as a blowout with the Grizz with the Grizz missing so many guys due to injuries. I will say though that the T Wolves are on the second of a back to back. They did play Detroit last night and they were victorious, but they were taken to the test a little bit. They only won by 7, and they're also only 1-2 ATS this season in back to back situations. So potentially could be a little closer than some might think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they can blow out teams, but that's 2 games in a row. I would also say that they got a big look ahead game Saturday. That's against Oklahoma City. That's a really important game. Now, the game tonight's on TNT. I have no idea if that matters at all, but I'm kind of weird. I kind of like this Grizzlies team, Steve. I kind of like them. I like looking at the lineup and not knowing who a couple of the guys are. I like they they they've played pretty hard. They actually beat the Warriors, but the Warriors are just so bad on the road. Before that, they did get blown out by the Knicks, but then they actually played the Clippers pretty good. So I got to tell you, I don't think I'm worried about the blowout. I think the Grizzlies keep it pretty close. And if it is a blowout, like if the Grizzlies are just horrible shooting the ball, he could easily get this by halftime. He could easily grab that many boards with the lack of size that they have inside. So, Rudy Gobert, oh god.
I know, I know you can't stand anything. I know we've been bit by him on both sides, whether we went under or over before. So I knew you were going to get a kick out of that
It's
one.
it's funny. It also is funny that this Rudy Gobert trade is actually looking pretty good. Last year
Yeah,
it
it
looked like
is.
the worst trade in NBA history. Now the team's awesome, and you're like, oh, not bad. so, was there another game you wanted to go over?
Yeah, I actually have a plus money look on. I'm looking at Sabonis tonight. He's playing your Pacers, and
Yes.
the triple double is sitting there at plus 140.
Ooh.
He's 11 triple doubles on the season, which is one behind the leader. Joker has 12. He's the only guy with more triple doubles on the season. And the Pacers, they're number one in scoring, but they're also number two in points allowed. It's they're one of the worst defenses out there, giving up 123 plus per game. His former team as well. A little bit of an extra effort, maybe potentially out of Sabonis tonight, and I like it as a sprinkle at plus 140.
Yeah, Pacers are on a really weird road trip. Like Friday they were at Atlanta, then Sunday at Denver, Monday at Utah, then a few days off, and then they got back to backs against Sacramento, Portland, and then Phoenix. So it's a pretty long road trip for them. They are going to be rested, but you'd want them to keep this game close. You're going to need as many minutes as possible against Sabonis, but. Fresh off the Sabonis trade, they've sent a very clear message. They're going for it. So this should be a great game tonight. What's the over under on this one? Because the Pacers have been going under since Halliburton went out. Like weirdly, their
248.
defense it's 248.
Yeah.
I know it's against Sacramento. I would almost lean the under a little bit. Their defense has just gotten a little bit better since since Halliburton's went out. Now the offense hasn't been nearly as good, but what's the starting lineup here? Okay, so they have Halliburton listed as a game time decision. That's amazing. The guy
Yeah, he comes
he
back.
got carried off the court. It was like, well, there goes the season. Instead, they're trading for Siakam. So Siakam's a game time decision, so we're not going to know if he's going to play tonight or not. If he's available to suit up, they'll play him. So all right, Sabonis triple double, like it. Anything else in NBA for tonight?
I just had one other potential look. I was just looking at Barrett tonight. RJ Barrett's over for PRAs. He's just had 33 plus in 5 of his last 6. And since the trade, he's 3 for 3 to this line in home games. So he's been comfortable at home since the trade. He's also hitting 4 of the last 5 against the Bulls. So it's a lean. It's just one that stood out to me though as a play where he's trending towards the over ever since the trade, and he's gotten there pretty handedly recently.
Like it, like it. All right, let's move to NHL. I talked about Charlie Coyle. That's my favorite shots on goal. And if you see here, he's got the longest streak going on. Miko Rantanen's on a 5-game streak. Mikael Backlund, I kind of like. That's not too bad. You got another guy here for Boston, Pavel Zacha, who's I don't know if it's Zacha or Zaka, so sorry if I'm butchering that name. So he's at 1.5 for Boston as well. So any hockey plays you're liking for tonight?
Well, it's ironic that you mentioned Rantanen because that was the look that I had. I usually shy away from the over 3.5s, but he's been getting there just so consistently. His last 5, 8 of his last 9 had 4 against Boston in January, and Boston's one of those teams that we've talked about where they don't allow a lot of goals, but they allow a lot of shots. So, when you allow a lot of goals and a lot of shots, sometimes the team won't be firing away because they've already gotten the lead against Boston. That shouldn't be the case tonight. And yeah, he got there pretty comfortably. He's had 4 plus just consistently now over the last 10 games. So I think I'm comfortable with the 3.5 on him tonight.
Boston's getting worse. 4th in goals and 24th in shots on goal. They just keep giving up a lot of shots. So Miko Rantanen. We can take a look at some points. Who's the hottest guy? So Kadri for Calgary's on fire, minus 135. Just to have 1 point. That's not too bad, actually, because guys like Ovechkin and Robertson, they're around the minus 200. So this is a pretty good price on Philip Denault for the Kings. He's had, 6 in a row. Nashville's not very good. They give up some goals, so that could be one you like on points. And if we're trying to look at who's kind of cold with the points, I love these guys at the 1.5. I like taking unders, but darn it, they're like around the minus 200. So I feel like I've been priced out of some of those. Like they're really juicy to take the unders. I mean, you could. Pasta's the one guy I'm never taking an under on 1.5 on Pasta. The guy can get there in the first period. So not a lot of guys that I would like to fade just because of the price and everything. I guess the one interesting one is Connor McDavid. He's just been getting one per game. That's 5 in a row with just 1 point. Plays Seattle. This is a much better spot for Seattle than it was last game. They're wrapping up a big long road trip. Their last game was a second leg of a back-to-back. They gave up 5 goals, but that was just so predictable. Their legs were tired. They've had rest. So tough recommending an under on Connor McDavid, but this is a Kraken team that's ripped off a lot of wins in a row outside of the bad spot last game. So that might be something to look at. Connor McDavid under. Boy, how nervous are you if you're watching an Edmonton game and you got the under on Connor McDavid?
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty nerve wracking, even at 1.5. Yeah,
just don't watch it.
that one stood out to me as well, just because of the lower juice on it. But it obviously makes sense since considering it's McDavid.
Yeah, every time he touches the puck is going a million miles an hour towards the net. You're just like, oh my God, here we go again. So, any other hockey games you wanted to talk about today, Steve?
No, that's really it. I mean, I just was looking through the points when you were talking about him, and I guess you could kind of throw McKinnon in the same boat as McDavid. He's playing the Bruins tonight, and we just talked about how they don't give up a ton of goals. They do give up a ton of shots. He's only had 1 point in each of his in 4 of his last 6. But I mean, he's right on the cusp every game, so you'd be playing with fire in that one. But at plus 100, it's potentially worth a look. But again, it'd be nerve wracking to have the under even 1.5 on a guy like McKinnon as well, even against the Bruins. But
I know. God, I mean, look at him just to have a point is basically the best parlay piece out there.
Yeah, it's like a lock, right?
Out of the last 30 of them. So, all right. So I think that's going to do it for us today on the Road to Millions. So guys, don't forget Half Price Thursday. Go grab the NHL Fire and Ice pack. That's up 2 best bets included in there. Steve's got a 5% over at Sports Memo. We're gonna do Bankroll Reset Day tomorrow, and tomorrow we're gonna take a little bit longer look about bankroll management. And we'll go through the ups and downs that we've had this week on some of our plays. We've had some good days and some really bad days, which I hate. I really wish it would just be a little bit more even with the up, but this week has just been, more of this. So it's inevitable. It's just going to happen. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the mindset in dealing with that. And tomorrow we have a lot of plays pending. We got 2 NHL plays. We got a lot of tennis plays that are pending. Will be decided tonight. So hard to say what our bankroll reset day is going to look like, but we will recap all of that tomorrow. So encourage everyone to join us, and we'll get you ready for that and for the weekend. So that's going to do it for us, guys. Good luck on all your bets tonight, and we will see everyone tomorrow on the Road to Millions.
Good luck.